Alright, in today's video we're going to be showing you how to beat the heat when it comes to a heat wave to keep your lawn in great condition, and how this, the humble Brillo pad, can help save your lawn's life. Alright, so before we crack on, let me just tell you more about the Brillo pad and how it can save your lawn's life. In that when we mow the lawn, if the lawn is dehydrated anywhere, it leaves behind a wiry grey finish to the lawn, and this looks like a Brillo pad, so that's why I call it the Brillo pad effect. The best way to find it is to cut the lawn, because this flattens it, and if there is signs of dehydration, the grass won't stand back up, and it really gives a good indication if you have that Brillo pad effect. So let's cut it and we'll see if we've got any. Alright, so I did give this a great watering on Friday because I did see signs of the Brillo pad effect back then. So I left the hose on, I just left it on in the areas, just dribbling out for about half an hour while I cut the other lawn, and it's come back great. But in this corner we have the Brillo pad effect again. So we can see, if we go really close, that it's just not come back up. And it's red hot because there's no water in there, so the plant looks like a Brillo pad, I think. So that's a good indication that this area needs some water. So I've got a few tips and tricks now to tell you how we can get this back and what we need to look out for going forward. Alright, so what we're looking out for when we get that Brillo pad effect is getting water on as soon as we can. The more water we get on straight away, the quicker it's going to come back. Now the Brillo pad has 3 different stages. If we catch it when it just looks like a Brillo pad, we get water on there, within 10 minutes it's going to be stood up, tall as ever, no problem. Now if we let it get to the darker Brillo pad stage, it's going to take probably a day to come back once we get all that water on. But if we let it get to a rusty Brillo pad, it's probably, you're looking at possible life extinct or weeks, months for it to come back. So it's important to recognise those signs and get water on as soon as you see it. Don't delay. Okay, so why are we susceptible to water draining away in these areas? Well, under this lawn we have a membrane to stop worm casts coming up, so the water doesn't get hauled further down, the sun can dry it out because it's not much depth here. We've got a box hedge which is draining water from the lawn, draining life from the lawn. We've got a pleached hedge here, which the roots are going to be coming underneath. We've got an acer, we've got a laurel under here, so that's draining all the water out over there. And we've got a canopy of a beech tree up above us, so when it rains, the water isn't actually touching here, so it's kind of a false hope that you think it's getting rained on when it's not. So it's important, even though it does rain sometimes, to water the areas which are under this canopy, because the first thing you do when it starts raining is go under a tree for cover because it's dry. So ensure that your water loads under areas where the rain can't get to. Now there is a scientific term for this draining of life out of the lawn, and it's called simply the uxor effectus. It's a Latin term and it simply means in English the wife effect. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll show you some tips on how to get the most out of your watering and how to beat this heat wave that's due. Alright, if you're struggling with low water pressure, you're not going to be able to do anything about that in terms of getting it higher, but there is a simple thing you can do to make the most of the low pressure you've got. Now, if you're trying to water something 50 metres away and you're using a 50-metre hose, by the time the water has got to the end of that hose, that pressure has just been lost. So here, for example, I'm not 50 metres away, so what I've done is I've just cut a shorter length of hose so the water is coming out quicker because it doesn't have to travel down a long hose pipe. Now, there's another tip as well which will make your water go further, and that make sure your hose pipe is cool before you start running water through it, because heat creates friction which is going to slow your water down, and on a hot day after weeks and weeks of heat your water might be warm as well, so it's going to take longer to cool the hose pipe down. So always put your hose pipe away and then get it out just as you're about to use it, and then water can flow through even faster than normal. So that's another tip for you on how to beat the heat. So another tip, in these areas where we've got our heat damage coming, we want to get water on here obviously, and we want to get it in as quick as possible. So there's no harm in getting your seed slotter out and just giving this top layer just to go in over, just to open up some holes so that water can get right through quicker into the roots, because the water isn't feeding the grass on the top, it's just going to fly away with the sun. So it's important that we get that water into the roots, because that's where it's going to be taken up. So there's no point just going on splashing a little bit on the top. We need to really penetrate this area now and get that water into the roots to give us longevity, and you won't have to water as much if we can get that water into the root zone. So I'll just carry on doing this and I'll show you some other tips that I've got to get rid of this quicker and to help the plant along as well. Okay, so the next stage in rescuing the Brillo pad affected lawns is to put some products on. Now, we don't want to be going on with any nitrogen, with any magnesium or anything, or iron that's going to give us colour, because if we're just putting it in certain areas, we don't want a colour change just in that area. If we're going over the whole area, maybe, but when you've got the Brillo pad effect, it's important that we don't stress the lawn out anymore, and putting nitrogen on is one sure way to do that. So the three ingredients that are fine to use on the Brillo pad effect are Sopro, H2Go and Grace. When you're pouring your water into your watering can, if you go straight for the tap, all you're going to have is one expensive foam party. So make sure you're pouring nice and slowly with a wide-headed jug, and it will fill up nice and you'll have plenty of water in there. And then all we need to do is walk over the area where we've got the Brillo pad effect and pour the watering can over the area, ensuring we cover all the areas that are dehydrated. Alright, so another way we can get products onto the lawn, say we had the Brillo pad effect all over and it was just too much work for a watering can. If you're lucky enough like me to have a pump, because you've got low water pressure and you want to maximise your watering, what we can do is we can get a vat. It can be a flexi tub, a bucket, anything as long as it holds water. I've got a 200 litre tank around the back, but from here I can't reach. I'm just doing it with the plug plugged in here, and this just to show you how easy it is. So then what we can do is we can get 90 mils of each product in here, because you know it's 45 square metres, and these are the full strength bottles, not the 125. In case if it was the 125 it would be 8 mil. So we go in like that, in there, give it a mix, so it's all nicely mixed in. And what we don't want to do is, if we're just watering, we can have that tap running into there and it's just replenishing the water so we get longer. But because we've got product in there, we want to not put the tap on because we're diluting what's in there. And we could start off putting on a stronger dose, and then as we get over here, we're doing a weaker dose, so we're not going on accurately. So we just leave that tap off, get that in there, make sure the suction hose is right down there, and then we can simply just turn on the hose. We can get everything watered in one. Now it's important again, when you're doing this, you don't put any nitrogen or iron in or anything like that, because you could stain your path. But all these products are absolutely fine. So we just run it through. And it doesn't matter if you put a bit more, it's only biostimulant, so nothing bad's going to happen. We're not going to get any green up from this. So we'll literally just go all over. Nice even coverage until our tank runs out, and then once that's done, we can then put some water in, fill it with normal water and water the lawn to wash it through. or get the sprinkler on, and I'll show you all about the sprinklers after I've done this. Now I'm just watering with normal water, getting that wetting agent washed in, and then I'll try out these sprinklers and show you how they work. So what I want to do now is, another way we can beat the heat is with a sprinkler. I've got 3 here. I've got the oscillating sprinkler, like a flat sprinkler which just gives you one spot coverage, and the impulse sprinkler. This one, you need really good pressure, so this one is a no-no here. Don't just be going down to B&Q or Home Depot and getting the most expensive, the biggest sprinkler, thinking also in mind you've got a pressure. So that says it needs 1.5 bars of pressure. I know I haven't got that here, so that is redundant, so we don't need that one. These two we'll try. This one is going to give us more coverage all over, whereas this one is going to give us coverage in one spot. I don't mind this so much in terms of coverage, but if you don't get it quite right, you can only pull the hose towards you. You've got to turn it off at the tap and then come back, move it, or to adjust this you've got to turn it off, turn it back on and keep doing it until you get it right. Whereas this, you can just wait till it's further away from you and then move it, and then it'll get you on the way back. So got some little clasps here that you open and shut to make it move further. So I'll show you how to use these now, and this is another way we can beat that heat wave. Okay, so I've just got it set, I think, to the fully open, so we're going to get 360 coverage. So I'll just turn it on to the tap, and then we'll see what kind of coverage we get, whether it's in the right position. So we don't need good pressure for that. That's going to do us, and then we can just monitor where it's landing. If it's landing on the curbs around, on the pavement or on the patio, we can just move it, and we can just leave that there, and that's going to give us a good soaking in. So let's turn this off now. So you see, if I wanted to go and move it now, I can't, or push it further away, I can't. All I can do is pick up the hose and move it towards me. I can't then move it back. I'll have to turn it off at the tap and then go and move it. So just something to bear in mind when using this, because you'll get wet otherwise. Okay, so what I've got now is the oscillating one. So even though we've got low pressure, we can just make this work and it will move itself back and forth. Now what we can do is, I've got this set just to come back up 90 degrees and then back down, but we could move it all the way over just by pushing that, and then literally all we're going to be doing is soaking this area, which is what we need to do, because as we know, that area is going to dry out first all the way along there. So we're going to target that. So what I'll do is I'll go and mow the other lawn, and I'll leave this on, and this is doing the work for me while I do other bits of work. Okay, so I've just cut that with the heater first, as you saw, and then with the Alert Sterling. Now this corner is quite notorious for Brillo pad effects. I don't know if you can see those two there, but there's one there that's just come in. If I just stamp on it, it doesn't quite come back, so we'll get that treated with water. And down here, it's just over here, it's just looking a bit dry. And again, there's the Brillo pad effect there. So what we need to do is do exactly what we've done up there, down here, and then we'll get this watered. And then it's looking nice. Okay, so we're just getting some water down this end. I've got some SoPro Grayson H2Go in my tank behind the shed. So I'm just going to give this a good dousing. Sun's gone in now, so we should be able to maximise the watering by less evaporation of the sun. It's always better watering in the evening. You are going to lose some water naturally through transpiration in the night, but at least the water you do put on has all night to soak into the ground. If you do it in the morning, if you can only do it in the morning, that's all you can do. You have to do it in the morning, but just make sure you keep doing it every day in a heat wave. Unless you do a really heavy one at the beginning of the week, maybe you could get away with every other day, but really you want to be watering every day to top up the reserves that you put down. because like I said earlier, it's the roots that need the water, not the top surface. So what I'll do is I'll just do this, and then I'll show you how that impulse sprinkler works with good pressure. Okay, so as you can see, I've got this impulse sprinkler working. It's got good pressure. You need the pressure to be able to twist that spring at the bottom back into action. You can see it pings back out. If you haven't got the pressure, it won't change and it'll just stay in one position. So you need, like it says on the packet, 1.5 bar of pressure. So you can find out off your utilities company what you have, then you'll know if this sprinkler's for you. It's only £23, so it is a decent sprinkler if you've got the pressure. The oscillating one was £34, but that'll work for everybody. So that's the best investment really, because there's no point spending 23 on something that you can't use. So I'll just leave this going, and then I'll go and tidy up, and then it's home time. Alright, so that draws this video to a close. I'm just going to see this watering out. Hope you've enjoyed it and hope you've learned something on how to beat the heat wave and how you can come out the other side of it smelling like grass. So we'll see you next time when we're doing something here on Daniel Hibbert Lawn Expert, lawn related as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.